And they're being vilified because, in an effort to preserve what's good about our country, they're politely asking lawmakers here in Washington to change the way things are done around here. So this morning I thought we would So this morning I thought we could step back and take a look at some of the things they're proposing, and then let people decide for themselves who they think is extreme. At a time when the national debt has reached crisis levels, members of the Tea Party are asking that we stop spending more than we take in. In other words, they're asking that lawmakers in Washington do what any household in America already does. They want us to balance our budget. And they do this because they know their history and that the road to decline is paved with debt. Is that extreme? They want us to be able to explain how any law that we pass is consistent with the Constitution. This means that as we write new laws, they want us to be guided by the document that every single senator in this chamber has sworn to uphold. Is that extreme? They want us to cut down on the amount of money the government spends. Well, this year, the federal government in Washington is projected to spend about $1.6 trillion more than it has. That means we'll have to borrow it from somewhere else, driving the national debt even higher than it already is. What's more, the Obama administration plans to continue spending like this for years, so that within 5 years, the debt will exceed $20 trillion. Given these facts, you tell me, is it extreme to propose that we cut spending? What else? Well, a lot of people in the Tea Party think that the health care bill the Democrats passed last year should be repealed and replaced with real reforms that actually lower costs. Is that extreme? Here's a bill that's expected to lead to about 80,000 fewer jobs, which will cause federal health care spending to go up, compel millions to change the health care plans they have and like, and which is already driving individual and family insurance premiums up dramatically. Businesses are being hammered by its regulations and its mandates. A majority of states are working to overturn it. And 2 federal judges have ruled that one of its central provisions violates the U.S. Constitution. None of this sounds extreme to me. In fact, if you ask me, the goals of the Tea Party sound pretty reasonable. These folks recognize the gravity of the problems we face as a nation, and they're doing something about it for the sake of our future. They're engaged in the debate about spending and debt, which is a lot more than we can say about the President and many Democrats here in Congress. They're making their voices heard, and they've succeeded in changing the conversation here in Washington from how to grow government to how to shrink it. In my view, the Tea Party has had an overwhelmingly positive impact on the most important issues of the day. It's helped focus the debate. It's provided a forum for Americans who felt left out of the process to have a voice and make a difference. And it's already leading to good results. It may take some time, but thanks to everyday Americans like these getting involved, speaking their minds, and advocating for common sense reforms, I'm increasingly confident we'll get our fiscal house in order. And Republicans are determined to do our part to advance the goals that I've mentioned. That's why we've been fighting to cut spending in the near term, and that's why we'll soon be proposing a balanced budget amendment. American families have to balance their budgets. So should their elected representatives in Washington. It's not too much to expect that lawmakers spend no more than they take in, unless you think it's extreme to balance the books. And that brings us to the heart of the matter. The last time the Senate voted on a balanced budget amendment, in 1997, the federal deficit was a little over $100 billion. Today, it's about $1.6 trillion. Back then, the national debt was about $5.5 trillion. Today, it's closer to $14 trillion. Back then, the amendment failed by just one vote, just one. Today, Democrats are already lining up against it. So what's extreme is the thought that government can just continue on this reckless path without consequence. What's extreme is thinking we can just blithely watch the nation's debt get bigger and bigger and pretend it doesn't matter. What's extreme is spending more than $1.5 trillion than we have in a single year. This is the Democrats' approach. That is what is extreme. The sad truth is, as our fiscal problems have become deeper, Democrats in Washington and many others in state houses across the country have become increasingly less concerned about the consequences. Look no further than the ongoing spending debate in which Democrats have fought tooth and nail over a proposal to cut a few $1 billion at a time when we're borrowing about $4 billion a day, and our national debt stands at $14 trillion. The President has set the debate out entirely, and Democrats have the nerve to call anyone who expresses concern an extremist. If you're wondering where the Tea Party came from, look no further than that. Mr. President, I yield the floor.